Hiding at the base of a 400-meter mountain lies the entrance to Cwmorthin mine, one of the deepest places in the United Kingdom.
Down here in the bowels of the earth, you have no idea what it's doing outside.
During the peak of the Industrial Revolution, these pitch-black passages in Wales were dug by hand. Slate from this mine was exported globally.
They were going as far as Australia, all over the world.
Cwmorthin shut down in the 1990s after the cost of slate mining became unsustainable. So why now are their voices once again ringing in these forgotten tunnels?
We wanted to keep it as authentic as possible.
How has a long, harmonious history of humans working with the land been revived to bring new life here? In the 1800s, the rapid growth of the Industrial Revolution drove people from rural country homes towards cities. This expansion fueled a housing boom, putting Welsh slate for roofing in high demand.
The slate roof, you could guarantee it for well over 100 years.
At its peak, slate mining in Wales employed 17,000 people and produced 500,000 tons per year. Cwmorthin in North Wales was one of the most prolific slate mines in the region.
It's one of the renowned slates in the world.
Pred Hughes worked in slate mines here for 25 years and is now part of Cwmorthin's revival.
The slate runs in my veins. Its history, its texture, the whole lot. I just love it. We are looking at the mountain here. Believe it or not, it's a hollow mountain. Going down 15 levels, going up 14 levels. And it's all because of the Ordovician slate that lies within this mountain. What we are about to do now is head for Lake Level, one of the main entrances into Cwmorthin mine. That's where all the men entered to head down to their working chambers.
During this time, the mine went through a period of heavy underground excavation.
250 men would have walked down there in the mornings. And the poor sods that worked down in the lower levels, they had a long walk to reach their work.
Cwmorthin's vertical shafts reached so high and so deep that you could fit both the Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty on top of one another.
This is a crucial part of the mine, because here we are looking down the backbone of the mine. 1,383 feet below ground.
Advances in technology allowed miners to burrow deeper into the mountain. Yet progress doesn't come without risk. And by the late 19th century, that progress was tested.
This was the stairway to hell. But as you can see, this has come under a little bit of an accident and is wedged between the floor and the roof.
Situated outside a small town in Wales lies one of the world's largest slate mines. What makes it so remarkable is the distinctive geology surrounding it. About 450 million years ago, this entire region was underwater, and the oceanic sediment formed this hard slate.
This slate, it's a very fine sediment that's been compressed, and it splits into a very fine, smooth, ribbon roofing slate. It's one of the renowned slates in the world.
The unique properties of the rock here also made it ideal for mining.
Gravity basically is with you. Because of the angle of the slate, it lays on about 42, 45 degrees.
During the 1800s, slate production was on the rise, and Cwmorthin slate miners were expected to keep up with demand. To extract the slate from the mountain, miners came up with an explosive solution: gunpowder.
They would have filled the hole up with black powder up to there.
But the hole for the powder had to be cut by hand.
It's called a jumper. You would twist it and throw it into the hole. And of course, the force of that would chip away the hole and it would bounce back or jump back into your hand. Thus the name, the jumper. Every chamber would only be 2 men. These 2 men would fire a big block, taken out on a trolley, maybe 2, 3, even 4 wagons, about 1.5 tons each. So in total, you're talking 9 tons it would haul up on one go.
Although advances in technology sped up the mining process, some of these engineering upgrades created new obstacles.
It created much more dust. And of course, the dust from the slates is silica, so they would breathe in the dust and give them silicosis on the lung. It was horrendous.
By the late 1800s, the miners had dug nearly 250 meters below sea level, more than 400 meters below the mountain top. However, in 1884, a major underground collapse caused half the mine to flood and temporarily close down.
We're on G floor, and this is the lowest point we'll get to. Because as you can see down there, it's flooded 9 floors down into the bottom of the Q floor. One thing about being down here and that water rising, that's the only clue you have. That is probably horrendous weather outside. That water is on the rise. We're not in too much danger.
Many companies attempted to restore the mine to pre-flood working order. It remained in use until the end of the 20th century, eventually closing its doors for good in 1997. Much of the original machinery was abandoned.
There's so much artifacts left here. They were just shut shop and just left quite a lot of stuff.
But even though the mine is now closed, it hasn't been forgotten. How are the tunnels and shafts, once the pride of Cwmorthin, being transformed to draw crowds? A new generation of thrill-seekers is heading back down underground to explore the wonders of the abandoned Cwmorthin mine.
It really is a real adventure. So it's a good day out.
Mike Griffiths is part of a local company that has turned this old industrial site into an extreme adventure course.
It's all fairly white-knuckle activities. We've got climbs, zip wires, traverses, abseils. We've got a big free fall, which involves people stepping off the ledge, plummeting into the abyss. It's what we call kind of authentic adventure because everybody's clipped into the safety system, but there is still that element of danger. We wanted to keep it as authentic as possible. You get the thrill of being underground in this environment that is so alien to most people. And you get the history of the place and a feel for how it was when the miners worked underground here.
It's taken veterans and newcomers alike to reimagine this space.
It's quite emotional in a way after working almost 25 years in the slate industry here in Festiniog.
Yeah, a bit slippy here, Fred. Building the route was challenging, to say the least. What we were aiming to do was try and get into areas of the mine that nobody had really been in before. So we had this vision of lots of zip wires, such as the one you can see here that heads across to little islands. Nobody had been on them for over 100 years.
Despite the challenging environment, in many ways, the old mine is perfect for this new purpose.
The architecture of the slate mine lends itself really well to what we do. The 42-degree angle of the slate kind of creates an angle that's a tough climb, but just about doable. The fact that the quarrymen blasted away the floors of each chamber, creating these vast caverns, means that these huge spaces are just great to build humongous climbs through. There's a good example of one behind me that we've vaulted all the way up to the roof that you can see up there, and this one disappears off around the corner in that direction.
This intense course isn't for the novice adventurer.
This is one of the most dangerous areas of the mine that we'll pass through on one of our trips. We're absolutely fine where we're standing now, but if I shine my torch behind me here, you can see on the far side of this chamber that there has been a big collapse at some point in the past. Chances are it won't move again, but it might move in a year or two. You just never know.
Mike and his colleagues were blown away by the popularity of the mine, as visitors flocked to get a taste of the danger and the history.
If they were to do something wrong, they could potentially fall 40 or 50 metres.
Far from being claustrophobic, visitors wanted more of this underworld. So what did Mike do to give the ultimate cave experience? What extra level of ingenuity is powering its new lease of life?
We are at the deepest accessible point in Cwmorthin now, and for those who can make it this far, we've got an extra special treat that I'm going to show you now. Follow me.
The climbing and abseiling naturally ends at the bottom of the mine, the lowest point. Cavers would usually then begin the long climb back up to the entrance. But Mike had a better idea.
Welcome to the deepest underground accommodation in the world.
Mike and his team have spent months constructing 6 cabins at the very lowest point of Cwmorthin mine, where cavers can spend the night in the dark, damp bottom of the pit.
We're miles away from civilization down here, and it's somewhere that you don't need to worry about noisy neighbours, that's for sure.
Guests will be given a comfortable bed to sleep in, but that's all.
This isn't luxury, but it's about as close as you can get at the bottom of a slate mine.
Mike and the team have always felt the need to honor not just the history of the mine, but the history of the mountain. They vowed early on to limit any damage to the surrounding environment as much as they could. These cabins do have electricity, but it's provided by the mine itself.
There's a lot of water down here that's all flowed down through the mine. An enormous effort was made when Cwmorthin was being worked to pump all of the water out. Since Cwmorthin has closed down, nature's kind of taken over again, and the water that was once pumped out is now flowing down into the mountain through this turbine, which generates power for our accommodation.
Converting this area for their guests has been no simple task.
It's been great, but don't get me wrong, it's been tough.
Every single supply and tool has been brought down by hand across the very same 8-hour journey the visitors must negotiate.
I'm going to go over to the left a bit. Yeah.
It has taken Mike and Pratt almost 8 months to get the cabins built, and they are not quite done yet.
I dread to think how many kilograms of equipment and timber and tools and everything that we've brought down here. It has been really tough.
Thankfully, Mike, we've only got 2 loads left after this one, after the hundreds that we carried down here.
It's probably come quite close to having broken me, but we've managed to sort of fight on through and get most of it completed now. My back's thanking me for that.
What the old quarrymen would say if they was to see this. Probably tell us all that we're all mad.
Former miner Pred is proud of the mine's reinvention.
If you would have asked me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that I would be building these accommodation in an old quarryman's chamber, it would be unbelievable. It's really nice, you know, bringing life back into these empty voids. After doing it, they look good. They really look good.